Hi, this is Shawn Griffith, head football coach, Constantine High School. Here to do a quick Zoom presentation for you, centering around wing T, power T, and specific offense. First off, I'd like to thank the Coaches Association and Kyle especially for giving me the opportunity to come on, talk a little bit of football. I know these are very crazy times for everybody. It's a matter of as I just told one of the people here at school, the one positive I think that's come out of this shutdown, the whole COVID-19 thing, is the amount of football that we've been able to take in, me and my coaching staff, and having people help us out by putting presentations like this on. It's been just an amazing time to get more information. So I certainly appreciate the guys giving me an opportunity to come on and do this presentation. I started out here with a screen, my information on it. Guys, you know, when you have these, there's just so many questions that come up. I'm always happy to answer questions for anybody that wants to know how to get the Power T up and going. It's been tremendous for us. Since 2002 when we implemented the Power T. It's just been great to see other programs that have come and helped us. That's I think kind of a unique situation with the T is, you know, we certainly didn't invent it. It's one of the oldest ones out there, and I was fortunate enough to have some real great guys give me some pointers on how to get this thing going. And I think the T community is kind of that way, in that we really want to share with the other guys that want to do this. There aren't any secrets to it, and it's kind of a cult out there, the old Power T cult, and it's very prevalent here in Michigan. And I would certainly be more than happy to answer any questions through email, cell phone there. Once this stuff clears up, I'm always happy to come over, sit down with staffs, invite you to the camps that we do. Certainly have any of your kids that want to do this stuff with us as well. We've always been very open to do that. But as it says there as well, here at Constantine, we don't hope for great things. We prepare to meet expectations. Hope is a great thing, but to be quite honest with you, you can hope for a lot of things in your life, but if you don't go out and try to, you're not aggressive and you take advantage of opportunities given to you, then you're missing the boat. And we prepare here at Constantine. We probably over prepare, but certainly over preparation certainly will lead you to greater things than under preparation ever will. Constantine football, you know, you'll hear me if you know me, or you've been on Facebook or Instagram, any of the things that we use. You'll hear me or see me use the words "get some" quite a bit. What does "get some" mean? Get some means generate energy, toughness, strength, optimism, motivation, and enthusiasm. Okay, we want to make sure that every single day we're doing something to promote that. You better, you're going to hear me talk when I start talking about the T formation. You're going to hear me talk about energy quite a few times. Obviously, toughness and strength are two things that we've, back in 1990, when Tim Baker, who took this program over before I became the head coach, his way to turn this program around was to instill toughness and strength. And we certainly, in '92, I got the opportunity to come here and join staff. Been here since '92 in Constantine, and those are two things that we continue every single year to talk about: being physical, being tough, and in trying to be the strongest group on the field. Certainly, the T formation has played in to all that. And when we talk about energy and enthusiasm, you better have energy and you better have enthusiasm every single play when you're running the T. A little bit about me, kind of coaching background. Going to be real quick with this. That's my crew there back in 2005, actually, that was the Tomahawk game we used to play annually with White Pigeon. Certainly the crew you see there looks a whole lot different now, 15 years later, than what we looked back then. But I was fortunate enough, as a Mendon High School graduate. I graduated in 1987. 1986 was my senior year of football at Mendon. Mendon started winning state championships in football in '82. When I was in middle school, I won the first state championship. I got an opportunity to play on the '83 team that was state runner-up. I was part of that group that went up to the Silverdome as a player. So tradition and state caliber tradition certainly was something that I got an opportunity to grow up in. And then in 1987, my first year as a freshman at Western Michigan, I was very fortunate that my head football coach at the time, Roger Smith, hired me to be a JV assistant football coach. By 1988, I was actually brought in and able to run the JV program at Mendon as an 18-year-old sophomore in college. But at Mendon, I got the opportunity to coach under two Hall of Fame football coaches, Roger Smith, John Swartz. Then in 1989, when Roger left for Hillsdale High School, I actually got an opportunity to coach with two other Hall of Fame coaches from Mendon, Coach Kreitz and Coach Ulrich. Both were on staff at that time, and just a lot of great knowledge. And I think that's important. If you're a young coach out there, try to catch on with as many guys that know the game as you can. You're able to pick their brain, and you're just able to. That's what's going to make you a better football coach. Certainly nothing that I've done is Shawn Griffith alone. It's a product of the great coaches that have allowed me to kind of pick their brain and become what I've become now. So I coached from '87 until 1990 at Mendon. In 1991, I went over and did my student teaching at Hillsdale High School. Hillsdale High School, I was the varsity defensive coordinator. So, I'm in my early 20s, get an opportunity to coordinate a high school defense, and learned a lot. Probably learned more in Hillsdale the 1 year I was in Hillsdale than I did all the years that I was at Mendon, simply because at Mendon from '87 until '90, we were in the playoffs with our varsity. I got to take part in my first state championship experience as a coach in '89, the '89 state championship team. Then to be able to head over to Hillsdale and use the stuff that I'd learned at Mendon to coordinate the defense. And once again, it was basically coming on with Roger again, and I put Roger and John there because in '91, when I was in college and did my student teaching, it was a unique situation where you had to student teach at a high school level and then at a elementary level. I did my high school, middle school student teaching with Roger. It actually ended week 9 was my last week of student teaching at Hillsdale. So I finished my student teaching. We were 2-7 at Hillsdale, and actually had a pretty good season at that 2-7. We were short-handed. I think we ended the season with about 15 kids dressed on our varsity squad. So I got an opportunity to find out what it was like to coach smaller units in a bigger league, to be quite honest with you. At Mendon, at the time I was there, we never really had to worry about numbers. They certainly do now. I think everybody is, but at that time we didn't. So Hillsdale, I got to learn that. But when week 9 ended and I needed to go and start my elementary student teaching, I was offered a position at Mendon with our elementary phys ed teacher, who at the time was a guy named Chuck Frisbee, who was my basketball coach in high school and later became our superintendent here at Constantine for us. But when I went back to do the elementary teaching there, John Swartz happened to be one of the elementary teachers at Mendon, and he looked me up and gave me an opportunity to come on back onto his staff for their playoff run, which in '91 resulted in a state championship as well. So I got to be on staff, travel with the team, run scout teams, and help out with any of the day-to-day stuff that Coach Swartz gave me an opportunity to do there. After that '91 season, after graduating from college, I had my teaching degree. Wasn't any teaching positions out. So I jumped on and did a lot of substitute teaching and was fortunate enough to answer an ad for coaches at Constantine. And Coach Baker, who was a Mendon grad himself, had taken over in 1990, and in 1992, he brought me on. And about midway through '92, I became the offensive coordinator at Constantine. And there I got the opportunity to coach with two more Hall of Fame coaches, Coach Baker and Coach Ken Reimer, who was our defensive coordinator since 1990. From 1990 until just 2 years ago, Coach Reimer was our defensive coordinator. From '92 until 2004, I was the O coordinator for Coach Baker. We were an I formation team when I started in '92. We transitioned into a lot of single back under center. That was the days of big time counter tray stuff. We put some of that stuff in, but we were more I formation, a lot of play action passing. And, you know, a lot of guys that I talk to with the T, you know, well, we want to go to the T because we think it fits our personnel better. Well, I got to be honest with you guys, the I formation and the single back stuff, all the things that we did from '92 until 2002 were pretty good to us. From '92 to 2002, 7 was the least amount of games that we won. We won 7 or more games every single year from in that period. We were state runner-ups in 1994, Constantine's first ever trip to the state finals. We had tremendous defenses. I thought defensively, if you look through those years, you made your money doing that. We were offensively, we always averaged in the high 20s to the low 30s. We were smash mouth, control the clock. We did a lot of things that you saw on Saturday, because there were a lot of power football going on in college at that time. And then the colleges started to really transition at that point into more West Coast passing, throwing the ball around, doing those types of things. I knew that we didn't have the athletes to do that, but when I looked at what we had coming up in the 2002 season, I really thought we had enough running backs that I wanted something where we could utilize a lot of runners. The I formation is simply you got a feature back. I had too many feature backs to do that, so sat down with Coach Baker and a couple other guys that I'll talk about later, and we decided to go to the T offense. In 2002, we put it in. We took a trip to the state finals in '02. In 2004, we won our only state championship here at Constantine. 2004, Coach Baker decided to step down, and at that point, I became the head football coach here at Constantine. I've been the head football coach since 2005, and I still coordinate our offense and do that. Coach Reimer continued to be my defensive coordinator. Like I said, it was 2 seasons ago, he decided to step down. He had been retired from teaching. He stepped down, still comes to our games. It's great to see him when I see him. And, you know, we've added Coach Vandenberg on the staff, who has taken over as our D coordinator and our O-line coach. So you start on, you say to yourself, why run the T? I see a lot of guys, you know, they put things on their like I say, when I see the other offenses, why go to the RPO, the newfangled, the zone read it was just a few years ago. Now we're into all the RPOs, and there had to be a reason for us to go to the T. Well, to be quite honest with you, in the late 90s, we got hammered by some real good T teams. We were playing Hopkins in the mid 90s into the late 90s. Hopkins ran a wing T version. Great athletes. Really liked what they had done. We played Muskegon Orchard View, and Coach Shillito, who's now at Zeeland West, when he was there, we played them in their championship run, where they set all the records for scoring in the state of Michigan. And we thought we did a fantastic job of defending him, and they put 60 points up on us. So, and that was he was doing that to everybody with this. And we also played Penfield in the playoffs a few times. We had probably as much success against them as we had failures, but certainly his offense enabled him. What I really liked about Coach K when he was running this is, man, he'd have a quarterback or two get hurt, and I'll be darned, they're still competitive and playing at a high level when they come into the playoffs. All I know is when we were running the I formation, and when I see these single back, and even now with the RPOs and the spread stuff that you're seeing, if that quarterback goes down, that coach is in a world of hurt. It's not odd for us to run several different guys on the quarterback right within what we're doing in a game. And I was really impressed with how Coach K was able to do that and still play at a high level. I put staff fights down there. I can remember back in the mid-90s and late 90s, when we would sit down to defend a T, and one of the things that we've always been real good at here from Constantine is when we have our meetings on Sunday nights, we spend almost the whole meeting discussing how we're going to defend the teams that we're playing. There's very little offense that's discussed at our coaches' staff meetings. We talk defense, and I've never seen coaches get into more heated arguments, debates, sometimes near fist fights. You don't see that any place except when we were trying to defend how we were going to defend the T. Everybody thinks they got the best way to do it, and there really, when you look, there really isn't a best way to do it. It just becomes a matter of, is that guy, how long is it going to be before that guy can figure out what you're doing, and then you better have some changes and some switch ups, or the good ones are going to beat you with that. But when I saw how our staff reacted to having to defend the T, I was like, man, I would really like to do that to somebody else's staff. What better way than to throw the T in ourselves? I got an opportunity to sit down with some T coaching legends. Irv Sigler, senior, who before he was at Olivet College, was at Belding, Sheboygan. He knew what he was doing. I went over to coaching clinic. We used to have a guy in Three Rivers, which is just north of us. Coach Zonick would always put on mini clinics in his basement, and those mini clinics usually involved a keg at the back of the room. Coach Sigler came in, and at the time there weren't a whole lot of people in our area interested in running the T. So Coach Irv, who does one thing he does better than coach the T, is tell stories. I mean, the guy, you could sit with the guy for probably a week and have him tell you story after story, and he won't repeat a single story that whole week, and he'll have a new one, and he'll have you rolling. I mean, he can hold a crowd, but that night he had me sitting in the front row, and I was actually asking football questions, firing through, and it ended up with him and I talking T football all night, with the rest of the guys back enjoying the keg and waiting for me to get done with my stupid T questions so Coach could get back on to his stories. But great opportunity I had there. And then John Shillito, who basically I knew John before he was running the T at Muskegon Orchard View. He was running a lot of single back zone stuff. He had tight end, ended up going to Michigan State, and he had a tailback on his team, a running back on his team that ended up going to Central. And I got an opportunity to sit down with him and talk zone blocking and his single back stuff, and was real interested in that. And about 3 years after that, he went to the T and just was killing everybody. And I decided at that point, you know, that might be a guy I need to get a hold of. And these two guys were, I mean, they gave me anything I asked for, terminology, playbooks, all of that stuff, which is probably why through the years I've done the same for several myself. I also think that the T sets the culture that you want to have. And we've had a culture here since 1990. And that's one thing that I think Coach Baker and Coach Reimer, Coach Strausser, those were the three guys that were here at Constantine. I think that's one thing that I learned from them is you got to have a culture and you got to have something you believe in. And the T plays into every single thing that we believe in here at Constantine. I got some facts about our T. We ran this year 85% of the plays that we ran were a T formation. Now, of that 85%, 4% of that was our unbalanced T. We will flip-flop. We will go with a strong side, weak side. When I say that, I'm not saying flip-flopping our players. We'll go with both our tackles on one side of the center for an unbalanced look. 4%, so 81% of the plays that we ran on offense this year were straight T, double tight end, and 4% were an unbalanced T. The other 15%, we still run some single back stuff. We will break out and run a wing, more of a Delaware wing look. We'll even throw a split end out on that Delaware wing every now and then, just to give some different looks. But 85% of the plays we ran were the straight T formation. We started 4 different quarterbacks this year. And this is what I alluded to earlier that I really liked with Penfield. The picture I have here on the screen, number 2 there, is he was one of our captains. He's a senior. When he was a junior 2 seasons ago, he started. He was my starting quarterback. We came out this year, his senior year, and he started the first game at running back for us at right half. We started a sophomore at quarterback. We got into about three games in. I decided there are some things that I really liked about number 2 there that I really thought we can play into our strengths as well. So I started basically flipping my sophomore back to running back and my senior there into quarterback. We also had 3 years ago when number 2 there was a sophomore, I had him on varsity and he played defensive back for us, and he was my backup quarterback. The kid that quarterbacked our JV happened to be a state champion pole vaulter. I mean, quite an athlete. So I never gave up with him through the summer and through all of our wing T camps. I had him take quite a few snaps. Later on in the year, when my sophomore quarterback got dinged up, I started that kid, the other senior, game 9 against Delton. I started him. And then we had a situation where we had some kids get in some trouble. We had a deal where I needed to start different kid, and I have the kid that played fullback for me actually played quarterback when he was in middle school and was our backup quarterback through his JV. He started a game at Waterville Elite for us this year as well. Besides that, I had another kid when we had some kids get into some trouble. I talked to a junior kid that we had walking the halls that played quarterback for us on JV 2 years ago. I talked him into coming out. We worked him at quarterback, and I needed a backup at that time when I had kids that got themselves in a little bit of trouble. So number 40 you see there in the picture is Juice, my son. Juice is as far away from a quarterback as what you want to have, but the kid's been to 10,000 practices in his lifetime. So at the very least, you better know how to run quarterback. He's also the guy when we play, when we play scout team. The other thing is the other 4 kids I talked about that play quarterback for us, all 4 of those guys started on defense at one point or another for us. So there'd be times when we're playing a T team that I'd have to bring Owen back, and he'd be our scout team quarterback. Therefore, we had him ready to go. He could have taken snaps in a game as well. I think it's important that you have that. I also think that's important for your culture, because this is the other thing that happens. When a spread football team's quarterback comes in and he gets hurt, the rest of the team, they're going to take a dive for a period of time while you're trying to figure out how to bring another kid in. There's very few teams that have that type of athlete that they're going to be able to bring him in and they're not going to step down. The other thing is when you do bring that kid in, I guarantee you're bringing him in from another position. So you're looking at bringing a second teamer in. So now you'll have your second team quarterback and you'll have your second team wideout. My kids understand that there is absolutely no difference from my first team and my second team kid. I trust every one of those kids that go in. If I didn't, I wouldn't have you there. And in the T, it's not only just quarterback, it's every place. I mean, you're looking at the screen right there. Number 72, when he was a 10th grader, started for me at tackle. He moved in, he played center. Now he can play tackle at any time during a game. If I have a tackle get dinged up and I want to move him out, I bring my backup center in. I don't have any qualms. It's not like I've redoubled. Number 52 started at tight end for me last year as a junior. We needed guards. I put him in at guard in less than a week. He knew what to do. He knows, everybody knows what everybody else is doing on the plays. And we're not talking a booklet full of plays where guys have to know things. It becomes very simple for those kids to come in. Balance. When we talk balance, when you talk balance, you're probably talking pass run. For us, balance means right and left. On the season, we ran 4 more traps to the right than we did traps to the left. That's balance for us. When I looked at our off tackle, we ran 6 more for the season. Now we're talking. We're not talking a game. For the season, we ran 6 more powers, our off tackle play, to the right than we did to the left. So balance for us means we want to run as much to each side. We really don't want people to key in on one side and be able to take a side away from you to go to the other. And we will have that. We will have that. We every single season, somebody's going to say, we're taking that running back away from you. Well, it's not about that running back for us. We're really into trying to get balance and want to get balance to both sides. We did pass 50 times this year in 11 games. That's a ton for us, folks. We don't do that. The standing joke here is we passed 50 times this year because coach's son's a tight end, so we have to pass more. But if you ask my son what position he plays, he's probably not going to tell you tight end. He's going to tell you wide tackle, because he knows he's not going to see the ball. His mother might not be real happy with that at times, but that's how it's going to be. We have 4 base plays here: trap, power, counter, and keep. And guys, I'm telling you, that's going to be, of those, that 85% up there, probably 90% or better of those 85% of our plays this year were those 4 plays right there. That's what we brought in. I talked about culture earlier, and this is how this plays into our culture. We're a physical smash mouth football team here. You talk. I hear a lot. What I hear a lot of is you can't run the T. If you run the T, you can't get the athletes out at your school. Well, we need to have physical smash mouth kids. Constantine is a lineman first school. Now, the picture you see here is at the Lineman Challenge up at Plainwell High School. They do a great job with that. we take a batch of kids up there every year. You're looking at my tight ends go. I call and tell them I'm bringing tight ends as well. You know, I get guys, well, these tight ends are beating us in these my tight ends. As it ended up last year, my tight ends were ended up being my guards. The two kids that I had coming back that should have been tight ends for us ended up being our two guards, and I brought my son up from the JVs. He filled in one of the tight end positions. So if you're a tight end at Constantine, you're a lineman. And we know that, and I think that's part of the culture, and our kids play into that. Okay? You're going to hit somebody or you're going to be hit. You know, as I said before, what athletes are you looking to get out of your hallways? I want kids that want to come out and be physical. We're a big wrestling school. You know, we talk about, well, you're never going to get your basketball players running that. Well, I do get my basketball players. I'm looking at that picture right there with my linemen. The best basketball players at Constantine, you've already seen pictures of them through this video, and I've only shown 3-4 pictures. My basketball players come out. They play football. The kids I really want to get out, I want to get my wrestlers out. I want to make sure my wrestlers understand. Wrestlers like to be physical. They're a physical type of kid. Those are kids we want to have out. We want to take advantage of our running backs. As I said before, in 02 when we put this in, one thing I looked at is, man, we have good running backs at Constantine. It's been kind of a tradition. Even back when we were an I-formation team, it's pretty easy to find kids that want to run the ball. If you know, let's get back to that basketball thing. If you look at our basketball record, we have not been a very consistent basketball program here. Teams that don't have consistent basketball programs are probably going to struggle throwing the football around and trying to catch it. We don't catch the ball very well. Do I have kids that can throw it? I usually do. I have some that can't, and they're still great quarterbacks in our system. The kids that can catch it still, or can throw it, still have to have kids that can catch it. But what we have had around here are kids that love to block, kids that love to hit, and we have been able to find kids that run the football real well. And it does, as I said, it allows me to get the athletes out in Constantine. We get the athletes here in Constantine. Do we get many school of choice kids that are coming in from other schools around us? Probably not. Probably not. But to be quite honest with you, those kids are playing in pretty successful programs themselves. The programs around us have been ultra successful in what they do. I don't know why a kid shouldn't be leaving the school to go someplace else to play football anyways. You go to school to get an education. Our education is top notch, but I also think that the schools around us do a pretty good job of educating their kids as well. And the fact of the matter is, quite a few of the schools around us are going to a lot of the things that we're doing right now anyways. We're a wrestling school here. I think that's part of our culture. If you ask people athletically what's Constantine known for, it's definitely been football, wrestling, and then probably track. I'm a baseball coach here as well as football. Love our baseball program, but we've struggled to keep up with most of the baseball schools around here as far as our kids being as good at that sport as they are, as the kids around us are. We are in wrestling, we are in football, and those things I think have gone hand in hand and really made us what we are here. Okay. It's important that you understand every single team that runs the T does something a little bit different, okay? And we're unique. There are some unique things that we're going to do, and I'm going to show you some film here in just a second to show you some of those things. We're going to widen our splits. You're going to call me a liar when I show you some of this film from last year, but on a normal year, we're going to go 1 foot splits between guard and center. Obviously we want our linemen back. Our ear hole should be splitting the hip pad of the center. So we want to be back a little bit. We're going to go 1 foot between the guard and center, 2 feet from the guard to tackle. And then I put STL there. Sky's the limit between the tight end and the tackle. Our tight ends will flex out. I believe that makes it harder for teams to defend the C gap. I think we're going to take advantage of how you defend that wide split on the tight end. and it's going to allow us to do and run our offense the way we want to run it. Our backs are going to be tighter to the quarterback than most. I have people all the time. So, Coach, where do you put your running backs? How deep do you have them playing? Ours really depends on the speed of the fullback. I want my fullback tight enough so when he comes through on his path, his midline path, he's got to be right at the quarterback when the quarterback opens. It's got to be right now. And we'll go over that with some of this film. You'll see that. And then our halfbacks will set their depth according to where the fullback is. Our halfback depth will be different depending on the fullback. It has not affected our mesh point because the halfback has to understand he's going to want his second step to be right where the fullback's hand started in the ground. So the quarterback's really the one that may have to make a slight adjustment. We're going to make contact with our fullback on all fakes, contact with football. Our football is going to touch it. That's pretty rare when you watch other teams that run the T. They don't like doing that because it makes for a lot of fumbles. Now, we had more turnovers this year, and turnovers cost us games this year. But our turnovers were not because of this. Our turnovers were running backs and quarterbacks not taking care of the football. If you're not holding the ball right and doing those things, that's where our fumbles came. No excuse to that, and that's something we have to shore up this coming season. We limit our double team blocks. We very rarely will double team. I've had coaches ask me, well, what if that defender is just so much better than your guy? Then we're going to run the other way, or we're going to run a different play. We're going to try everything we can to use your defender's aggression against him. But sometimes we really have to fight to get through and get by blockers, as they're taught very well as well. Keep in mind, kids are coached a ton better right now. I will say that. Kids are coached a ton better right now than when I started this back in the late 80s. Coaching has taken just a tremendous, and I don't mean that as any disrespect to the guys back in the 80s. I think there were just fewer good coaches back then. I think the guys that did it were great at what they did, but now even your assistants to the assistants to your position coach, it's become a big thing. I really, back when I started this, I think there was a perception that if you weren't the head coach, you didn't know anything about football. Now, the real coaches, the real guys that know the football, the ins and outs and the X's and O's are those assistant coaches, the guys running your positions, the guys do your coordinators. And there's just so much better coaching. I think it becomes a challenge for you when you're trying to do things. And that's why I think the double team blocks, I hate wasting guys because you got too many. I think when I waste a guy on a double team, and that's what I consider it, the defense is going to take advantage of that, and it becomes much easier for the defense to defend what you're doing. Energy, energy, energy. And you're going to see that here when I show you this clip here later. And we tell our kids, if you want to catch the ball, learn to play some pass defense because we can always use guys to play the pass. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to get an interception. You can get your hands on the football that way. Okay. This is the one, the slide that I started with. Once again, guys, feel free to contact me, any of this stuff. We're going to go over some of the X's and O's real quick. I think from here, I want to move over to huddle. You're going to have to bear with me a little bit because this stuff's on your screen, my huddle here. This, gentlemen, this is practice. We film our practice. We film our practice. I'll go in. What I like to do is take the first 10 plays of offense that we do, and I'm going to go through that. I'm going to write notes to my kids. And on the notes to my kids, I'm going to show them this is what you're doing wrong. This was early in our season. There's a lot of things that there's no excuse for on this. We shouldn't have this, but it does become, it's really no different than anybody else. And if I'm not filming practice, I don't know how much you're going to get out of practice because there's no way you can watch. You can't watch every single kid, every single play in practice. So I'm looking here. This is going to be what we call a 31 trap. We're going to trap to the left. I don't know if you can see my pointer or not, but over here, my left tight end is my son, number 1 there. My left tackle is a kid that actually started the season for us at left guard. He started every game his junior year at left guard. He started every game his sophomore year at left guard as well. I moved him to left tackle because I really thought my tight ends, and that's what you're seeing here at the guards, both these guards were tight ends for us last year when they were juniors. We've moved them. Now, from what I put on earlier, these should be 1 foot splits between my guard and my center. From my guard and my center, that is probably a little bit tighter than what I like these kids to have. I like 1 foot because both of these kids that I have at guard can run. If they go foot to foot or behind, we tend to run into the mesh point or be on the quarterback too quick on our pull. So we'll try to get a full 1 foot in there. My 2 foot split between my tackles, you're not seeing there. I'm not getting it on my right-hand side because I'm going to be honest with you, my right tackle is very slow. He's good at getting down and filling in, closing the window when his right guard moves, but he's good at that because he likes to be a little bit closer on his split. He's able to take advantage of his size, so when we get anybody running a head up or an inside technique on him, he's able to really close down. Now, my left tackle probably would tell you he's trying to take advantage of that same situation, but as I said before, this is a kid that started 2 years for us at guard. He shouldn't be arguing with me about being too slow. Now, I will say he put a lot of weight, and not good weight, on, but it ended up being an advantage to him as well. The weight that he had, he used it later on. Our tight ends, other than Juice's stance being horrible, that's a pretty decent split. You're looking at my other tight end, my right tight end, Trey. He was on one of the pictures you saw earlier. Trey, he's got a much bigger split. Trey gets it. He's a third-year starter, tight end. Trey is where we hope OJ over here at left tight end is here in a couple years. Okay, you're looking at, we're pretty tight with our fullback here behind the quarterback. You're also looking at my halfback should be set with their toes even with the instep of my fullback. This fullback became much, much, much better. At the start of the year, my coaching staff wasn't real sure how much fullback he should run. My O-line coach, who happens to be my D coordinator, would like to have him at guard this coming year. I don't see that happening. My other fullback, who was hurt this particular week, is one of my backup quarterbacks as well. He went for 250 yards against Brandywine in the playoffs. He sees things a lot better, but he's a kid that's played fullback for 3 years now. Next year he'll be a 4th-year fullback. This fullback is transitioning from a halfback spot, but number 2 we saw earlier is this right half, and this is my freshman. This kid was a freshman over here at left half. All of them getting much better. Okay, what I do is I'll go through, and as the clip goes along, I'll stop it and I'll put notes on here. Nice, got loose, should be off to the linebacker on the trap. My left tackle, he's going to tell me, I'm sure later on, that he heard the wrong play, but he should be up on this inside linebacker. And then my left guard, you're seeing him go to the inside linebacker. We got what we call an invert here. We like to, on the invert, send our tight end here onto this linebacker here. His path should take him to the linebacker. When he doesn't see anybody blocking him, he should take him. Because if this linebacker gets caught up on the line of scrimmage, or a tackle gets caught on the line of scrimmage, it can't get to the tackle, I want my tight end to take him. But you're going to see him go to this invert. Backside tight end's going to release upfield, take anybody in the middle third. He's got our what we call our touchdown block. And then we should see our fake and our energy. If I push play again, we'll get to the next word. It says Isaac cut behind OJ to the left. You're going to see him come in, and instead of counting on his blocks that he knows are coming from here, you're going to see him step around and he loses yardage. Now, the next words are going to be to my quarterback and my halfback about the energy that they're pulling. And this quarterback, this is my sophomore quarterback, you're also seeing him step, and he's stepping way too far off of the midline. This fullback should stay right on the midline as well, and you're going to see him bend over to the right of that line. I should never see him with both feet on the right-hand side of the midline. He should stagger the midline. Quarterback has to leave the midline. And if you look at this foot he's got over here, his right foot, you see how far he opened. He opened too far. And when he opens too far, he forces my halfback out further than he needs to go. And you saw he actually has to, my quarterback actually has to pull his foot right there. That cheater step that he took to bring his foot back to him, that tells him that he's opened up way too far and now no energy on the fake. And if you watch quarterback through the end, you see him stop, jogging, half butt, and where are his eyes? His eyes are looking back here. 22 or 20 here, he's 22 in the game. He likes to know what the running backs are doing. I tell him all the time, listen, the roar of the crowd, when you hear your mom roar in the crowd, you'll know that we just broke it off for a touchdown. You don't need to look back and see it. So not very good energy, not finishing blocks either. Like I said, this is early in the year. We'll get better at this. This is a 32 trap, so we're going to trap to the right. Isaac, if you bend play side, so the play side would be the right. If you look right here, folks, we got him blocked. We've got him coming to this invert. If he would bend to the play side, he's going to be okay. This guy here, probably Owen, my backside tight end, should have come to him. He's running to the midline. This guy is actually coming and going to scrape over. He's looking for power. And we've got a real good power fake going here. We just need energy after the fake. We've got everybody covered up here. And because he comes, my fullback decides to go to the left, this guy who's got a great block going right now can't sustain it. Boom. You see that. He came off of that block. Where are these other guys going? These other guys are running to the power. Once again, horrible energy by my quarterback. This is another reason why number 2 ended up playing so much more quarterback late in the year. But we got to get better. We got to get better at energy off that fake. And quite honestly, guys, I don't care if I'm running. If I'm running the spread RPO system, if that's all the better energy you get from your quarterback after he's handed the ball off or thrown the ball, he's probably going to end up on a stretcher a lot, to be quite honest with you, playing your offense. But I will say this. You're going to be a lot easier to defend. I don't like that. And right here I got Caden. That's this player here. Hands are out. No run fake. I mean, he's jogging. He's jogging. He's waiting for a whistle. This will be our power. It's our off-tackle play where we'll run to off-tackle to the left. And right now it is practice. So you're seeing these guys communicate. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. When we call a power, we have about, well, I'm going to say probably close to 30 different combinations we can run as far as how we're going to block this. And all those combinations are called by the kids on the field. I call one of the 4 plays. They decide how we're going to block it. They really decide how it ends up. And there isn't a single play that I call that my quarterback doesn't have the opportunity, ability, my blessing to change my call at the line of scrimmage. I give them a lot of freedom. I think that's something that if I were running the spread offense, I would do the same. I really think that kids buy into and kids take ownership if you let them decide. You know, at times I'll have tight ends and linemen come to the sideline to me when we're on defense and say, Coach, you got to call this, or you got to tell Caden to call that. When I call a timeout and go out to the field, the first thing I ask, what do we need to run? I don't want anybody to think that I know more. Certainly don't know more about what's going on out on that field than the kids that are out there playing. So we try to give them ownership as well. This is going to be our power. We'll run through it. Isaac, pay attention to the difference in how you run with the ball and without. Saul, that's one of our defenders. He can tell when you have the ball. Saul, I believe, is our invert right here. So he's going to watch, and he's able to tell. And I know that's how a lot of teams that play us do as well. They let that guy go ahead and read it. And you can read. And just by the energy that you have when you don't have the football can tip kids off. We try as well when we're looking at this on film in practice. I tell my coaches, I really want you to concentrate on the kids' stances. Can you figure anything out from their stance? I want to know. Are we tipping plays? Is there something that's going on? You'll see that we have a couple coaches in the defensive secondary. They're doing the same. But if you watch my fullback's energy, boom, he does a nice job of staying on that midline with his fake. I think Caden, my quarterback's probably a little bit further out than I want him to, but much better than he was last play. I like that foot. When he brings it to reclaim the midline. He's standing on the midline. That doesn't bother me. I really like it if he were back over on once the fullback left, if he would take that foot and put it back over to the other side of the midline. I think it makes it much harder for the defense to see. But you're seeing here, the fullback, he gets to there and he stops. That's another thing you're really going to want to work your backs on. When defense makes that contact and you don't have the football, they'll stop and they'll do their little run and place thing. Well, that doesn't go with me. I usually will go ballistic on them. Says here, Caden is off on a stroll, watching the ball every time. Your eyes should be up the field. You should be sprinting like you have the ball. Our DBs always know when he has it and when he doesn't. So he needs to do that. You're looking here, probably a little wider. We're going to lead through. My guess is, if I go back here, we've decided we're going to block down. We're going to block down because we're in a 3 technique. We're going to pick that linebacker up with a pulling guard. We have a J block here with this on the defensive end. So I'll be honest with you, I don't really care much for my left half's probably a little bit too wide in his stance. We want a short power step. He got the power step. You saw his first step, and Braden is very quick. He's a fast kid. So you're not getting a real good, but you saw his left. He stepped with his left foot first, and it was just a power step. I want to keep inside leverage on this guy. Probably don't have as much as I'd like, but I've crossed over, and I get a real good downhill. I want to stay. You're looking at him just trying to stay to the inside. We get a lot of step downs from guys. If we get a step down, I want to make sure I have speed to take him on because I might not have the size. What we got here was we got a DB playing this, and if you do have a DB, they tend to want to kind of head backwards. Braden, my halfback, did a real nice job of staying on the inside. Now my halfback here should read the guard's block, boom, and coming off. Why is my invert there to make the play? My invert's there to make the play because my fullback decided he would stop here and not give any effort. If you come in and you hit that first guy and you spin to get off, I'll guarantee that invert's going to stay there. He's going to stay there because you don't spin if you don't have the ball. So don't just stop your feet. You better be tackled to the ground or you better be moving toward that end zone if you don't have the football. And that should be my quarterback as well. And we didn't get that from either one of those two guys. So I'll let you watch it again. Boom, boom, and there. Still not much effort on the run either. I don't really like that. We'll go over one more play in practice, and then I'll run through a couple of game plays for you guys. We're kind of running out of time. So this is a 32, trap to the right. Once again, this fullback doesn't get behind. I pointed to him in the direction. If you get into that window, which that's where your blocks are coming from, that's a touchdown, fella. Instead, you get yourself there. And once again, not much effort from the quarterback. And how does this transition to a game? This is a season report here. My tee, 412 times we lined up in the tee this year. You're looking at 45 power. Let's go to our 31 here. We don't use an end zone cam, probably should. This will be the first two 31s that we ran. And this is an amazing deal. We line up. I called a 32. My sophomore quarterback, this is his first varsity game ever, comes up to the line, audibles to a 31, and then he runs a 32. My fullback, this is the kid I told you is a backup. He started a game at quarterback for us. He takes his first step and notices the quarterback has turned wrong. And luckily, fortunately for us, he got better and better as the year went on. Caden did, our quarterback, with not turning the wrong way. He did it a lot early on. He did it a lot as a freshman JV quarterback as well. Not so much later in the year, and we're really hoping that transitions into next year. But he actually gives him the ball on the wrong side. That's why it looks bad. And a lot of times, if you're scouting this and you look, what in the heck is Griff running here? We do have plays where we'll run a 31 and open up and fake a 32 in our backfield. We have several different types of traps that we're going to run. Looks, try to get your keys messed up, but Ty does a much better job knowing where those blocks are coming from and cutting off the back of it. And that was the first 31 that we ran on the season, okay? This is the second 31 that we ran on the season. This is that fullback you saw in our practice clip. And we tell our kids, once you've reached past the second level, once you're past those linebackers, you're free to look and go the other way. He just tends to want to do it before that. And that shouldn't have been a touchdown. I'm sure later on in the season, Coach Neal had his Chargers playing that a lot better. But if you look at this backside linebacker, he should have made the tackle right there. I will give my right tight end, does a great job on this with the touchdown block. Watch him release, go to the middle third, boom, boom, boom. And he doesn't even make a block, but he gets in that kid's way. Not a speed burner. We've had a lot of times where we've had kids that can really run. And then I want to show you a 32 as well. Here's our 32. It's our first 32 of the season, and we actually get tackled. This might have been the first play of the season. That's what it was. The 31 came on an audible. I called a 32 and was upset we didn't score a touchdown on it, so I called it again, and he switched it to a 31. But you're still seeing pretty good coming off the line. We're into kids. Not a real good block. My My right guard gets off onto that linebacker, but doesn't make a very good seal block. Gets to it, doesn't seal. You're looking at left tight end. You're looking at Owen get down. Upfield, go to the middle third. Middle third runs here. He does a good job. You know, well, why should I? No, when we see defenses that play too deep, Owen would stay back here deeper just to make sure he picks off any type of guy trying to come over the top. Fake's not good. Not good. A quarterback shouldn't be stopping when the guy gets tackled. He should be down the field running. You don't even get 1 yard across the line of scrimmage. There's no excuse for that. No excuse for that. We should have much better. So I'd like to oh, you know what? Let's go to that one right there. Okay, we don't gain anything. Brought this one right here because I have number 2 at quarterback. The number 2 you're going to see, I think, his fakes are a lot crisper. But at this point in the game, I think we were up 40-some to nothing. And you're going to see very little effort on his fake afterwards. And even with that very little effort, he's still going to end up further down the field than what my other quarterback was. And I will guarantee if I brought up last year's film when he was a junior and quarterback, and you're going to see him down there with that running back. And watch the left half on his fake. This is a backup left half. Boom, boom. Still not enough energy. He is not sprinting. You're not running. You should be getting your wind sprint activity in at those times. So this is Berrien Springs. This kid here is going to Kansas. He does a nice job sealing down and making the play. He's a pretty good football player. When we ran toward him, though, he did not like running. He didn't like the T. Kind of messed him up. We'll run the outside trap off of this as well. If these two guys are too big for our kids to move out, and boy, I still think if Isaac wouldn't have just jammed it in there, if he would have taken his seam play side, I think he's quick enough. That kid's not going to catch him from behind. This is against Comstock. Why does this get blown up? Backup center, my starting center, the kid you saw in the picture earlier. Backup center doesn't make his play. He'll probably be playing a tackle for us this year, this backup center, tackle or a guard for us this year. So they're not all great plays. I really, to be quite honest with you, coaching-wise, I'd much rather watch the plays that don't work than the ones that do. But even that one right there, that's that same center getting blown up. But once again, you're bringing in a backup center. This is his kid's first game varsity start, his career. And that shouldn't happen. We should get more movement on that. So. Guys, I got all kinds of these cut-ups. If you're interested, you can call and you can get a hold of me. I'd be more than happy to get back with you. Once again, there's my information for contact. But, guys, I encourage you, anybody at all, to get a hold, take this time to make yourself better coaches. There's so much stuff out there. You can find anything you want on YouTube on these types of things. I know Kyle's put together a great series just with our football coaches here in Michigan to be able to get on and take advantage of this stuff. And I encourage you to do that. And if there's anything I can help you with this stuff or anything else, feel free to get a hold of me. Love talking football. Certainly have taken this time we've had off in this craziness to reconnect with a lot of coaches that I've been able to speak to in the past, and it's just a great opportunity. But once again, thanks, Kyle. Thanks to the Coaches Association. Make sure you're doing that as well, guys. Make sure you're involved with the association as much as you can be. A lot of information out there. Coaching football is the greatest profession there is. Had an opportunity, as all of us do. All of us have the opportunity to do a lot of other things with our life. This is very important. And during times like this, it's never more important than these times right now. It's just an unbelievable time. And we've got to make sure that we're touching as many of these kids' lives as we can and making sure people are doing the right thing and doing things that we need to be doing. So thanks, guys. And like I said, anything I can do for you at all, make sure you reach out.